even though I cannot explain how I can speak of left hand or right when I do not remember what it is to have hands. I know that I had them once, that's all. Hands. One of several words that may fraternize with my. See also dog, God, knife, etc. Though I also cannot explain me or my in any detail, saying only that it represented a difference, a very slight difference. You could call it a pucker. I called it myself, and speaking made the mouth that made the self that said the word that made me. Tips for travelers. First, stop time. Second, turn yourself through your mouth. Take the path of most resistance. Feel the O in no pursing around your skull. Drive through it, like a tiger through a hoop. Correction, nothing so free and fiery, like a baby, birthing backwards, up the bone tunnel into the meat of the problem, concentrating, homing in on the zygote, the moment of possibility, from the wrong side. Yes, wrong. It feels wrong, and it is wrong, against the rules of time, of common sense, the rules of rules even. You're a word said backwards. Correction, nothing so airy, you're a lima bean going down the wrong hole. Just when you think you have the hang of no, the O closes, leaving a little scar to mark its place. That's your road, the apostrophe, in can't, won't, voiceless sign of omission. How can you fit through it, get beyond it? You can't. There's no through, no beyond. Did you think there was? Did you think death was somewhere else? It's here. It's been here all along. You find your way by failing to get there. Fifth dispatch. I said, for it seemed to me that a tree was the first object of philosophy. There are no trees here, and non-existent trees stuck their roots deep into naught, which cannot be imagined, and which I yet imagined, a treacly reservoir, hot, gluey, and nourishing. No trunks shot up. They were not steel gray, ropey with non-existence, did not force out small yellow leaves into no great gray rushing silent wind. If not has bark, these trees had that. If not does not have bark, they did not have bark. Either way, this bark that they had or had not was corded, gray, black, purplish, the color of bruises, a low note on a harmonica, burning film, if such qualities in objects exist or have ever existed. I said, there's no water, and no river drank from me and filled. I said, there are no objects here of any kind, and non-existent objects bulked upon the sheer. They did not fist, they did not corner, they did not heap me with the dignity of their weight upon the shattered crust of no earth. They had no known shape, were not waxy or yellowish, taking on no flanks the gunmetal gleam of no sky. They were pagan to the religion of being there, for they were not, and yet persisted as such, knuckly, cuttish, aromatic, bunched. So I said, additionally, there's no here, and nowhere shot out all around me in every direction, as far as no horizon, where it pressed itself against no sky. The sky was cloudless. In fact, it was skyless. I said, not a cloud, which was not a cloud, but it clouded my eyes. The sky saw the smear on my pupil and said, cloud, and there was cloud. The sky came later, when I said, not pink, which was not pink. A word is not a color, but it flooded me with pink, and the sky saw the pink in me and blushed. Self-conscious, it knew itself as sky. I summarized, it is not, and it was not. A plug of fibers, little seeds, mud, chaff, spit, whatever you want. Every word I said was false. Brown wavy hairs did not sprout from the pale ground, did not curl into cursive against a slick rock, no more there than any other turd, tooth, or other bit of alliterative ticky-tacky. Nothing was plunged to the pommel, and no chafed why ever not, no string dangled out of anywhere. The banjo jangle of a cheap radio wasn't to be heard, seeping odiously up from no next door, here where no door was opening, onto no road. And yet I, who was not, who was of all my lies the unlikeliest, was on my way. Sixth dispatch. I found my deft legs and got moving. It was strange to feel the road peel out from under my tongue, its meridian oleanders and receding perspectives bothering themselves out of my tonsils. I blew gravel, Blew my feet too, tripping along on what was being prospected out of me. There was the distance, my distance. Excuse me if I feel a little lump in my throat that turns out to be the moon. I interrupted myself with a hill or something. I mean, whatever. It was dry, speckled, vaporous, breastish, adhesive. You could call it a hill. So I went up it to see what it rose above. It was a small hill. The valleys loomed over it. Some would call it a hole with ideas above itself. Or it was nothing of the kind. It was a squat bottle with a long neck and a cork stopper, formerly containing vinegar, now white tablets, possibly aspirin. Or it was Turkey, though I've never been to Turkey. Friends, it might have been a spiny anteater, a potlatch ritual, a little wax muchacha with spun sugar hair, and I'm not excluding an outdated psychology textbook. It had qualities of all of these things, especially the latter. But all in all, I thought it was something between a hill and a hole, in the same way that I'm something between an embryo and a stiff, namely, in a manner of speaking, i.e., it is if I say it is. Next minute, though, it wasn't. Things change. That's how it is in the land of the dead. Well, that's how it is in the land of the living, too, of course, but more slowly, if I remember correctly. I mean, in the land of the living, things rarely turn under your eyes, and so quickly you think you must have imagined it, from a vague expectation to an event, to a thing, to an idea, and from that back to an event, do they? And then from an event, sometimes to a thing, and to the idea of a thing, memory of a thing, expectation of an event, memory of an expectation unfulfilled, or fulfilled only in part, then again to the event itself, which by now is past, so it's a memory again, one that already contains in itself an expectation of a future that is part past, part passing, and part to come? Or does it? And that's nothing compared to the way around here what I would call a hill, a hole, or a butte turns out suddenly to be an inflatable raft with a legless donkey riding on it, and then a child soldier from a small, hot country. Someone else's death probably would have been a little different. The sky wouldn't have been so ridged and red. The ground wouldn't have lifted her up like a tongue. She wouldn't have been mispronounced, stammering through a landscape that kept reminding her of things she should have mentioned. For her, death would have been the place where all's said and done. For me, it was some kind of beginning. I mean, I'm hoping so. I mean, I would like to think that death is where thinking the world and being the world are really no different. Which is why listening to my account is already traveling. I hope you packed lunch. Tips for travelers. Death is not an experience people can have. Death is the cessation of experience. Non-existence is not a property people can possess. Without existence, there are no people to speak of. But still, we speak of them, ourselves, dead. We imagine our unimaginable deaths. From this unreasonable behavior, we derive an entire world, as real as that branch of mathematics that is based on imaginary numbers. Death is not a place, and yet we go there. Seventh dispatch. Death was neither here nor there. It was more like a map than most landscapes, the sky more like a description of the sky than most skies. The wind sounded like pages turning and carried a taste of ink. Hash marks sunflowered the sides of hills, tiny letters marked the road. I told them over as I went, hoping to learn where I was. W-H-E-R-E-I-A-M. At the same time, the landscape was more physical than most places. Even the farthest objects could be touched, could not be touched.